limits his playing time, and
to stay a Hawk. We're back in 90 seconds here on US 98.
Cowley, Butler all screw up multiple times. So, yeah, they definitely need to get this win. They're going to play desperate on Saturday, and we're going to have to be ready to go take on that challenge.
Coach, we talked about Shante Tramble at Independence being a contender for Player of the Year in this league. Another guy who's a contender for Player of the Year in this league is Brent Moss, who was coming off the bench for Barton last year, a key role player for them. Ended up having, I believe, 10, 12 points in that quarterfinal game out there in Great Bend in March. But he is certainly a different player here in 24-25. He's averaging 21 and 11 in league play, a very efficient score. He's coming off of a 40-point game in that loss to Indy, but only missed 7 7 shots in that game. So it's not just a guy that scores 20, 30 points because he shoots all the time. It's a guy that scores 20, 30 points, and he does it on very efficient numbers.
Yeah, he was a really good player coming off the bench for him last year. He and the point guard both, I mean, just gave him that quality depth coming off the bench. But Moss, yeah, he had 40 and 20 the other night against Independence, and he's very skilled. He can shoot the threes, got good ball skills. He can score mid-range, and he can post up. He's 6'6". He's an athlete, heck of a ball player. So him and the point guard, its name's skipping my
Kindle.
Yep. Kendall's a heck of an athlete. He's 6 foot, but he goes up and dunks it with ease, and he can really shoot it, and he's fast. We're going to have to do a great job on those guys. And then they got good size. They got guys on the inside. They got a 7-footer, and they got a couple 6'9" guys, and they just got they got a good team.
They do.
But we're just going to have to do the things that we do, and so far that's been pretty good.
Coach, you hit the nail on the head looking at this, and I know looking at the stat sheet doesn't tell the whole story, but you look at the shooting splits, you look at the rebounding, you look at the defense, and Barton does not do a lot of things poorly. It's usually when you can look at a team and how they play, you can kind of find, like, example with the Dodge City girls, which we'll talk to Coach Turner about in a few minutes, they average 19 turnovers a game in conference play. That's something you can circle and say, well,
right.
They don't do that quite as well as maybe some other teams in the league. But this Barton team, they're rock solid just about everywhere across the board. I think maybe the one thing that you can, and this is even a stretch, but I think maybe the one thing you can look at that they've taken a little bit of a hit from last year to this year is they're maybe not quite as good outside the three-point line as they were a year ago. They don't quite have those weapons on the wings that they had with Malith and that they had with Cooper Jackson and some of those other guys, but still shooting 35% from three can definitely hurt you if you give them those looks.
Yeah, especially at home. I mean, everybody shoots better when they're at home. They're just used to the surroundings, and yeah, we're going to have to do our job, and hopefully our press will slow them down a little bit, and then when we get in the half court, we're going to have to do a good job of playing our rules, and then like we do a good job with, we got to give them one shot and that's it. Rashid, Daniel, Charles. Relja's got to get back on the boards better. He and I had a conversation about that today. If we can do that, we're going to give ourselves a chance.
Coach, last thing I have for you here as we wrap up this first part of the show. It goes, you got to avoid the power plant when the student sections were, or you got to go to the power plant when the student sections were on winter break. You don't get the same fortune when you go to Great Bend on Saturday. And when I was there, and obviously in March for the quarterfinals, a little bit different in the postseason, but they packed that place. And it's a loud fan base. It's a rowdy, passionate fan base. And it's an arena that's kind of built slanted where it gets loud when it comes down onto the court. And that's what happens at Barton. So going to be a tough place to play just from team talent, but also going to be a tough place to play because it gets loud there in Great Bend.
Yeah, last year for that playoff game, if you remember, they let everybody in free.
That's right.
And it was full. It was they had it going that night, and up until 3 minutes to go in the game, we're ahead.
That's right.
And we had a chance, and they go on to win the national championship. Ring Malith hit 2 big threes at the end there, and unfortunately we weren't able to get that win. The thing that's in our favor, I think, on Saturday, the Chiefs play at 3:30, and K-State KU play, and I'm hoping that's around that same time. So hopefully a lot of the Great Bend fans.
Multiple interests.
Yeah, they're going to say, hey, we can watch the live stream or something and stay away from the gym. But I know the Chiefs are on at 3:30, and I'm hoping the KU K-State game's on about that time too.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Going to be a fun one on Saturday. Barton and Coffeyville, 2 of the top 15 teams in America going head-to-head for the first time this season. Coach Jay Herkelman, good enough to join us. Let's take a quick 90-second timeout. When we come back, Coach Tony Turner takes the stand. We'll talk about that big win over Dodge City when we come back here on the Red Raven Coaches Show on US 98. Back here on the Red Raven Coaches Show, live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. Appreciate Wendy's for having us each and every week. And again, if you're swinging by tonight from 8 until midnight, free 4-piece nugget with any purchase. So you don't want to miss out on that. Obviously, with the Raven wins as of late, Wendy's in the giving mood, and they're giving out some free nuggets. Take advantage of that from 8 until midnight. Also, their 2-for-7 deal. And, of course, their value menu can't be beat. So make sure you swing on by here. Tell them that US 98 and the Red Raven Coaches Show sent you. We shift focus to the Lady Ravens and head coach Tony Turner. And, Coach, obviously don't have to tell you how great that win was last night for your crew against Dodge City.
I'm sorry.
You're all good. But don't need to tell you how great that win was against Dodge City. But I talked to Coach Turner about it before the game. In any point in your coaching career, have you had that happen where back-to-back games, the men's game against Seward and then your game against Dodge City, ending game winners? I don't think I've ever seen that.
I don't think I've not in my 20-plus years of coaching, hadn't seen that happen like that.
The cardiac kids at Coffeyville Community College, they just like to make you sweat for it a little bit.
Hey, we want to give you your money's worth. You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
Like, those games are always fun to watch.
Worth the price of admission.
It sure is, yes.
Absolutely. But, Coach, I got Carly's opinion on it, the final play, but let's go back to that, that huddle that with 2.9 seconds to go. First of all, Dodge had the ball with 10 seconds left and had a chance to win it in their own right. Hallie Kitchen made an outstanding play to jump the passing lane and get the steal and give your team a chance to get the shot for the win. But what did you, when you called that timeout with 2.9 to go, what was the look you were going for, and what did you see when your girls went out there and executed it?
Well, honestly, I trusted Carly, and I was like, I knew they were going to worry about the lob pass because I know Coach Steele yelled, "Hey, watch the lob," and I was like, oh, it's set up perfect because they're going to run to the lob, and then we had a couple girls spread out, one go to the corner, and they bid on that, and Carly stepped up, set the back screen, came out and hit a big time three for us.
No doubt. And I love how honest Carly was about it. Where we talked to her after the game, Coach, I was kind of expecting that that cliche answer that you get from a player where they go, I've been working hard, waiting for that moment. They know that I'm ready if I ever get called upon. And she was like, I've never been in that position before. I didn't think it was going in.
Well, when she released it, I put the little body English on it, and it was all net. It was a splash.
She said it felt good off the hand, but she said she wasn't sure if it was going in. One of my favorite things about as the years gone on is, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, Carly Parker just is Carly Parker. She doesn't, put on a fake persona for anything. She just is who she is all the time.
She's a very honest player and honest individual, and you ask her a question, she's going to tell you the truth about it. And she one thing she said, Coach, I've been in the gym. I said, I can tell you. It's no rocket scientist to figure out who's been in that gym and who's not, and she's definitely one that spends a lot of time in that gym.
Coach, I want to talk about something you had said last night after the game was your team showed guts, your team showed heart, and I completely agree because your team was down not just four players, 4 key players. You were missing, of course, Camry Johnson, who suffered a hand injury. She's going to be out a couple weeks. But then also Ava Baker, Alexis Parker, and Aspen Clarkson all unavailable due to illness. That's not just 3 players on your roster, which would have been bad enough. That's 3 players that play every game for you. So your team had to step up down 4 players to beat a top 5 team in the nation. And I just thought that, a lot of things that, should have gone against them that night. And they went out and they played hard and they played physical and they played, I think, their best 40-minute stretch of the year.
Oh, I thought we did great. I was a little skeptical, for my pregame talk when we talked, and I could just tell I was just like nervous about how we were approaching the game with the adversity we had with those players out, and I know they were watching it and rooting us on, and but I thought our team, once we weathered the storm and went out and played hard and got rid of our nerves, I thought we went out and just played as one, and that was my post-game talk about being one, and the sooner we get to one, the better we'll be.
No doubt. Coach, we talked all the time, before the game, I should say, about how your defense is top 3 in the Jayhawk in a lot of stats and opponent points per game, forcing turnovers, defensive rebounding, as well as 3-point percentage. A lot of numbers that show that you're a very good defensive basketball team. But I think yesterday was pretty clearly your toughest test of the year, going up against a team that averages 84 points a game. A lot of great shooters, a lot of great scorers. And what really stands out to me, Dodge has a lot of players that can beat you, but it's no secret that their top two players are Layla J. Cameron and Taya Morgan. You hold that duo to a combined 8 of 28, and Layla J. Cameron fouls out with 1:40 to go in a tie game. I mean, don't think you could ask for much more from your team in terms of defensive effort. I thought they were great on that side of the ball.
I thought we did a great job sticking to the game plan. Everybody was on the same page, and when we're all on the same page, we're clicking. I thought we paid attention to film. We paid attention to details in our walkthroughs, and I thought we did a great job of guarding their stuff, and we didn't get ourselves spread out. We were there on the catch with the shooters, and our goal was just to keep them in front of us because they like to get downhill and kick it to the shooters. And I thought we did a good job last night of just keeping them in front of us.
We talked about this last year, Coach. I remember after the win against Butler out in El Dorado, where I feel like when you have a team, and you have a team this year, last year's team was more experienced. This year's team had a lot more newcomers to it. But I feel like every team kind of has that moment, that realization of, wow, we can hang with anybody, or wow, we can compete with anybody. Your team went to Hutchinson, played a really good second half, but couldn't get the win there, came up short in Butler. And I feel like the win on the road against Seward, a team that hadn't lost at home all year, and then you come back at home, short-staffed, kind of a lot of people around the league counting you out shorthanded and going up against a team that hadn't lost in 2 months, and you go out there and beat Dodge City and hand them a loss as well. I feel like we could look back on this in 4-6 weeks and say that this was the week where your girls really it clicked for them and said, wow, we're maybe better than we give ourselves credit for.
Well, and that's what I did talk to the coaches about that. Like, I'm a big critic of our team, and I see it all the time. And, the other coaches talk about how talented we are and how tough we are. And I thought last night kind of just opened my eyes a little bit that we're better than what I thought we were. And at least we got a little more toughness than what I thought we had. And we did a good job last night of just sticking together and being one. And, I keep telling them that's why we coach 1 to 12. I mean, you never know. And as I was talking to Coach Sierra about this game, I said, we've had some games where we blew out people, and we got people in the game early to get them some experience. So when they get in these situations, it's just like normal. And I thought those girls that hadn't played a lot in the big game stepped up and played well.
No doubt about it. And Coach, I think that you look back at this, and I completely agree with you in the sense that I think good teams find a way to bounce back, find a way, nobody's going to, I shouldn't say nobody because it happened last year in this conference, but it's very rare that you're going to go 38-0 and win the national championship. Doesn't happen very often. And the key for a team to end up in the top 2 or 3 in the Jayhawk Conference and get a trip to the national tournament, or have a chance at a trip to the national tournament, is finding a way to bounce back from the hiccups in a 35-game season. And we've seen your team, after an 8-0 start, lose to number 1 Hutch on the road, and a lot of teams do that, but you come back, you bounce back, you get some wins back at Nellis Hall. And then you lose to Cloud County at home, a game that I'm sure that you would say, and this team would say, wasn't the best game of the year, wasn't the best 40-minute stretch. And what do? You get some wins going into the break, beat a tough Cali team in overtime, come from behind. And then you come out of the break, you struggle a little bit with Butler, and then you bounce back with wins over Pratt, Seward, and now Dodge City. This team, Coach, has had hiccups this year, as almost every team in America does. But what your team has done so far is every time they've had a hiccup, they've bounced back.
Well, yeah, I constantly say, basketball, college basketball is definitely not a sprint. It's a marathon. You're going to have your ups and downs and your good and your bads. And, what do you do how do you handle the bads and how do you handle the goods? And, I thought today was going to be interesting how we came into our workouts. We lift, we shoot, and just kind of walk through some things. And I thought we were still locked in, paying attention to details. And, we get to Saturday, we'll see, how well we respond after not playing a top 3 ranked team in the country, and
yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how this team, how we can handle success.
Coach, before we move off this Dodge City game and start talking about Barton coming up on Saturday, two players I really want to talk about. Obviously, we've talked about Carly, but I want to talk a little bit about Caitlin Williams. And obviously, you look at the box score and only played about 6 minutes or so. And maybe when you look at the box score, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But, Coach, the situation she found herself in, where she finds out 4 players on this team are going to be unavailable, and you pull her red shirt, you activate her for her college debut against the number 3 team in the country, and she goes out there and she doesn't, I think the biggest compliment you can have in that situation is she didn't stand out. She went out there and she found her spot on the floor and she did her role and she took an open shot and she played good defense. And so talk a little bit about Caitlin and what you saw from her. And she was asked to do a really tough thing, and I thought she did a pretty good job.
Yeah, her and I had a long conversation about coming out of red shirt. And I told her, I said, I might have made a mistake on red shirting her. And we talked about some of the deficits of the reason why I did red shirt her was that we felt that her defense wasn't as good as we needed it to be. And she's definitely a big-time shooter. I mean, she's been in the gym on the regular, and they're shooting at night and at daytime. I mean, just handling her business. And, as we talk, that's like, it's totally your choice. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I think you can help us. We'll gradually work you into the system of our rotation. She got hit with a curveball, had to walk in playing the number 3 ranked team in the country, but I thought she did a great job. She handled it with class. She came to work out with us the last few days, rooted for our team. I mean, I got a pat on the back because I thought she did an excellent job for us last night.
Absolutely, and the other player, Coach, I wanted to make sure that we touched on here tonight is Aubrey Highshaw, because I thought in that second half especially, Aubrey was getting some big-time rebounds. She had a play that I remember very well where she took Shorna Preston off the bounce, one-on-one, just took her to the rim and scored with the right hand. And Shorna Preston's one of the best forwards in this league and was having a great night. And it takes a confident, talented player to be able to do what Aubrey did down the stretch. And we talked to Aubrey a little bit after the game, and I think it without question, Coach, she's playing the best, most confident basketball she's played in a Red Raven jersey.
Oh, yeah. We were kind of skeptical about Aubrey yesterday, because she had been having a hard time getting herself in shape, and we knew we were down a couple forwards. I thought the second half she played phenomenal basketball, and I told her, I said, you play like that, girl, people will be coming to come and get you, because she rebounded well. She played with pace. She played like a big-time player and played within herself. And, Aubrey's definitely a big-time player, and as she continues to grow, and hopefully she'll build on the success from the other night, her better basketball is ahead of her.
Absolutely, and we talked about a little bit at the end of that game, Coach, that we've talked about it on this show this year. We've talked about in the pre-games this year. Narika having her moments, and Carly having her moments, and Hallie. What a game Hallie had last night with 13 points, 3 huge threes. When your offense got off to a slow start, Hallie really kept you close in that first half. We've talked about Aubrey. We've talked about Karis. We've talked about so many different players on this roster, and we've kind of been waiting for it to all kind of culminate together and get that full 40-minute performance. And, Coach, I think that performance last night is easier said than done, is copy-paste. If we get that team the rest of the way, there's not going to be many more losses for this team.
I agree with you 100%. And, again, I keep talking about the sooner we get to 1, and not 1 in the rankings, not 1 on the polls, nothing like that. As soon as we become 1 as a team, root for each other, cheer for each other, be there for each other. When we get there, this team will be tough to beat, and we're crawling to get there. I don't expect it to happen overnight, and I think each day we take a step forward to becoming 1, and that was my emphasis last night after the game. Happy, excited. They sprayed water everywhere, but when we got back down to reality, we got to get to 1. The sooner there, the better we'll be.
Absolutely. Battle of 2 teams on 3-game winning streaks coming up this weekend. The Red Ravens take on the Barton Cougars out in Great Bend. We're going to take a quick 90-second timeout. When we come back, let's hear from Coach Turner, his thoughts on the Cougars as the Ravens look to make it 4 in a row. We're back in 90 seconds here on US 98. Final segment here of the Red Raven Coaches Show, live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. Again, swing by, get the 2 for $7 special. Also, if you come by from 8 until midnight, free 4-piece nugget with any purchase. So make sure you don't miss out on that opportunity. We're continuing to talk Lady Ravens with Tony Turner, and now starting to look at this matchup with the Barton Cougars on Saturday. And, Coach, safe to say, I think this is not the same Barton that we've seen the last year or two in this league, but of course, going to Great Bend, like we talked about with Coach Herkelman, a very tough place to play. The arena kind of slanted, and it gets loud when it comes down, which it does up there in Great Bend. And it's a team that's physical, it's a team that's tough, and it's a team that if you don't take them seriously, they're going to come out there and they're going to beat you.
Oh, I'm hoping we're not record watching, because I know Coach Clark is a very good coach, and he has some pieces on that bench that are getting better and better each week as we follow them in the yes, with their statistics and how they've been winning and some of the games they lost. They've been battling, and I know he's going to have his team ready to go on Saturday. Kind of like we're going to be ready to go for Dodge. I mean, we'll have to come play, because he's a good coach.
Absolutely, and I think it goes without. It's a very common split, I guess, when you're looking at a team that's hovering around 500. Coach is 8-9 on the season, but 1-6 away from home. Barton at home is 5-2 this year. Very, very good in their building, as you expect with almost every school in the Jayhawks. Seward County was undefeated at home this year. Hutchinson's undefeated at home this year. Dodge City only has 1 loss at home this year. The good
I don't think their loss was at home.
Was it a neutral site game?
It was a neutral site game.
Well, so Dodge City unbeaten at home this year. The good teams don't lose on their home floor very often, and Barton doesn't lose on their home floor very often.
Oh yeah, we'll have to play a soundproof game, and and like I said, hopefully we're not record watching, because I know how good they are and how good they can be. They're big. I know they're struggling shooting right now, but the other night against Independence, they made some threes and got tons of rebounds, and we'll have to bring our A game to go beat them.
Coach, feels like it's a staple of Barton Cougar basketball that they have one of the best pure forwards in the league. 2 years ago, when you matched up with them in the Region 6 championship, they, of course, had Jenny Kim Whimsy, who was the player of the year in this league. Last year, of course, they had Vera Ojenawa and Vivian Anuga. Anuga is back for her sophomore year, and she is playing outstanding basketball, averaging 16 points, 16 rebounds a game. She is the reigning national player of the week right now, and in her last 2 games, Coach, in 8 different times this year, she's pulled down 20 rebounds in a game. So there are some question marks with this Cougar team, but Anuga is not one of them. She's one of the best players in this league.
Oh, she's very talented. I've seen in some film today. She's hitting a mid-range shot. She's very tenacious on the board. She refuses to let you block her out. She just plays active, got good active feet. On the defensive end, she's really good. She's a force that we'll have to watch out for on both ends. Just because she can rebound well, she can block shots, she runs the court. We have our forwards have their work cut out this weekend.
Absolutely. Coach, something we had talked about with Dodge City was that they were a little bit prone to some giveaways sometime, averaging 18 turnovers a game and 20 a game in conference play. I thought your defense did a really good job of, responding to that, that statistic, that weakness potentially of their offense, and forced turnovers and got out in transition and really kind of threw a wrinkle in their offensive game plan. Barton's another team that is prone to some giveaways sometime. They're turning the ball over 22 times a game. Not quite the same pace of a Dodge City, but they are prone to some giveaways, so it's going to be another game where your defense is going to be looking to get in the passing lanes and potentially turn some defense to offense.
Well, we're definitely going to pressure up on their guards just so they can't set and throw it to their post and give them some easy looks. And, we want those passes to be kind of either lobbed or bounced so we can get to the help and trap. We'll trap down hard. A lot of times we don't trap on the press on post defense, but this game we'll definitely trap down hard, and you may even see us play a little zone. We'll see. That's been kind of the talk and just to try to maintain and contain their forwards.
Coach, you kind of hinted at it there, but I'm curious because when you play we've seen coming out of the break playing a Butler, playing a Dodge City, teams that have some of the better three-point shooters in this league, and you're kind of spread out on the perimeter. With Barton, it's not going to be the same way. They do have some players on this team that can knock down some threes, but not the three-point shooting team that we saw, of course, at Nellis Hall on Wednesday night. It's going to be a team that is looking to get the ball down low into the paint, get to the free throw line. Very similar to Seward County in some ways, very similar to Hutchinson in some ways, and it's not going to just be your guards that are going to have to defend that perimeter, not give up open looks. It's going to have to be your Karras, your Narika, your Aubrey, defending that paint, getting good positioning, and making. I think the big X factor is limiting every possession to one shot.
One shot, one and done. Keep them off the boards, and we definitely been working on rebounding, and I thought we did a good job last night of rebounding, and we'll have to carry over just because this girl is active, and their other forwards are active too, and they're big, and they got a couple kids that are 6'4", 6'5", way bigger than us. We'll have to step up and play and be smart and play disciplined basketball and just pay attention to the details. Like I said, we'll mix up things of how we want to guard her. Just try to keep them off base a little bit. Their guards are kind of young, so we'll definitely want to kind of keep them on their toes of what defense we're in. We'll gimmick it up a little bit just to kind of mess with them.
Coach, I think that when you I'm thinking of how I kind of want to phrase this question, but I think that when you played Barton a year ago, and I know it's a completely different roster, but one of the big struggles in that quarterfinal game was the first quarter. Barton jumped off to a huge, I believe, 15, 17-point lead early in that game, and then by the time your team kind of caught their footing, you had a huge deficit you had to overcome. And this team has done a really good job this year of getting out to strong starts, playing well in the first quarter. So that, I think, is going to be another thing. It's a different Barton team, but I think that's going to be key, especially in the Barton Sports Arena, to get off to a good start. Don't let Barton kind of build up some confidence and get an early lead. If you can keep it close, I think at the end your talent could end up proving to be the advantage.
Well, yeah, I think this, comparing the last 2 years of teams, I thought this team last year guards a little better, a little bigger across the board, which we can rebound better. Our guards are a little more not tougher. I don't want to downplay the talent we had last year, but the players we have this year are a little more savvy on the defensive end, the rebounding part, which makes a big difference. When our offense ain't clicking, we're limited then the other teams to one and done. Mm-hmm. We try to generate some offense from our defense, and that's been helping us definitely get out to a good start and just playing basketball.
Last thing I have for you, Coach, I think a huge advantage for this team and why Wednesday went the way it did was getting Layla J. Cameron into some foul trouble early in that game. She picked up 2 first-quarter fouls. She fouled out with 2 minutes to go. I know that this is, this team does well at the free throw line. I believe they come into Saturday 4th in the conference in free throw shooting, hanging around 70, 71%. But it seems like this team has done well at times this year and could be totally coincidental. But getting key players 2-3 early fouls and kind of changing the game plan for opposing coaches of, wow, I don't have my leading scorer now for the next 5-6 minutes. Is it going to be an emphasis offensively to maybe have Karras, Narika, Carly try to go right at Anuga and see if you can get her in some early foul trouble?
Well, our philosophy's been get it, not settle for the quick first shot. And, unless it's a rhythm shot, we want to make them guard. And most teams don't like to guard to the second and third side. And when they do, they get kind of lazy. And I thought, again, no offense, I thought they just kind of stood around because we did get it to the second and third side. And we were able to attack off the bounce and keeping them having to move and stay locked in, and we'll do the same philosophy against their bigs, make them come out and guard some on-ball screens and just come at them and go at them and see how good of a defenders they are, and see if they can block shots and play defense without their hands. And so it'll be interesting. Well, that is definitely the game plan, to go after their best players.
Tough road trip this weekend for the Red Ravens. They take on the Barton Cougars out in Great Bend. Lady Ravens going to look for their 14th win of the season and their 9th in league play.